Um, Namaste, everyone. Uh, I hope I'm audible to everyone. Can you please show a thumbs up if I'm audible to you? Great. So, welcome everyone on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, we we had to change the timing based on the World Cup match that we have today. If any of you are in Delhi, we are also hosting it live in the India House office today. So if any one of you could join us, you can also join in for the cricket match that we are hosting at India House office. Uh, Thank you very much for joining this webinar. This is our attempt to, help all the individuals who want to be in the space of public policy to know what all options are there in the field of public policy. Uh, the I will let you know about how we will go around the what are the things that we'll cover in the webinar in the next few slides. Uh, Let me first introduce you to the speakers that will be live today. Can we please move to the next slide, please? So we have with us Kumar Subhamji. Kumar Subhamji is the founder and CEO of India House. Before India House, he was part of Seva International, where he was the director of Seva Fellowship. He was there for 10 years and he led the Seva Fellowships. He was also the co-founder at VIF Vision India Foundation, which is now transformed into Rastram School. Uh, we welcome Kumar Subhamji to the webinar. Next, we have Nachiketa Mittalji. Nachiketa Mittalji is currently serving as the lead of learning and development at India House. Uh, she was previously managing One District, One Product. Most of you have heard about it. Heard about the One District, One Product initiative. She was managing the One District, One Product initiative earlier under the government of India, and she has an experience of working closely with the government of India and its officials and all of those. So she is also both Kumar Subhamji and Nachiketa Mittalji are IIT Delhi alumnus, and they have been in the space for a lot of time. So they will be sharing their experiences on how public policy as a space is and how we can navigate our path through this space. Uh, can we move to the next slide, please? So some housekeeping rules. I mean, as already stated to you, but again, I would want to reiterate that just to make sure that we all are on the same page and we all are communicating personally with each other, even though that's not possible since we are physically apart from each other. Let's try as much as possible to do that. To do that, we would kindly ask you to rename yourself. With your name, and if it's possible, also your organization name or any place that you are serving, um, uh, any form of keyword that might help us to know where you are or what you are doing currently. That will be best. If you have any questions at any point, you can drop it in the chat, both here in the Zoom or over YouTube. Our moderators are there in both platforms and they will be replying to your chats there. We will reply to some of the chats and some of the questions, if they are already covered by the webinar host, we will not be giving the answers to them there. If some of the questions are if some of the questions are we are not able to answer them through the chat, we will also ask the host to answer them at the end of the session. So at the end of the uh, webinar, we will have a Q&A whereby the questions put up in the chat, as well as we will also open it to the audience if you want to have any questions that you want to ask at the end of the webinar. So you can do all of that there. So thank you very much to all of you. Now I would like to pass the baton to the moderators, and we wish you all the best for the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Devendraji. Let me ask you a very simple question. This is not the reality in India. This is a famous scene from the movie Three Idiots, in which the protagonist's friend's father started by saying, "मेरा बेटा policy maker बनेगा, and मेरा बेटा engineer बनेगा," and this does not happen so far. So none of our families are pushing us to become policymakers in true sense. They're maybe pushing us to become bureaucrats, but definitely not the core idea of being a policymaker. Still, all of us are here. 1.5 hours before the final World Cup final starts. We are here on a Sunday afternoon. We are here when hundreds of things could be done with our time, from watching a Netflix movie to going on travel with our friends, from just skimming through reels to watching good news. We have chosen to spend our Sunday afternoons watching this webinar or engaging in this webinar. Why? Why are you here? What makes you come here? And we'll start with this question, and I will wait for 5 to 10 responses from all of you on the chat. Why are you here? What makes you come here? And these are questions that we will also try to answer for sure before the webinar ends. So, one thing I commit to you that in the next 1 hour, 15 minutes that we have, by 4:30, any number of questions that you may throw our way, we will make our best effort to answer them. 100% of the questions will get answered today, to the best of our knowledge, and would love to see. So some of you have already responded. Ankit has asked, how can one transition from engineering to public policy? A very interesting question, Ankit. In fact, me and Nachiketa ji have done the same. I would love to answer this in the webinar. Vanshika has asked, as a second year BA student from tier 2 city with limited institutional exposure, what practical skills or initiatives can I start working on now that would help me stand out while applying for public policy internships? So, as a student in a tier 2 city, there is limited exposure. She has asked for a very specific question. I love the framing of your question, Vanshika, where you have mentioned you very well, and then you have mentioned out what do you need. We'll try to answer this in the chat, Vanshika, in the conversation, Vanshika. Then somebody has asked, I have completed my bachelor's in chemistry. What is the scope for me in public policy? So somebody has asked about engineering, and then somebody has also asked about bachelor's in chemistry. What do I do? Is there something that I can directly enter into? Uh, Nayanika has asked, who is an MA from, I think JU stands for Jadavpur University. I'm hoping. And she has asked, what is the scope and career opportunities of public policy and how to work in government institutions? So suppose we wish to work in government institutions. Niti Aayog has just come out with their young professionals program again. Uh, Around 50 people they are hiring. And Nayanika asks, how do I get in there? Anvesha has asked, uh, I want to understand policy better because there are many policies from day-to-day life that are to employment. With the understanding or better direction, I can do much better in my domain. Thank you, Anvesha, for asking this. In fact, public policy is something that transcends all these boundaries of domain. So Anvesha asks, in my domain, how do I leverage public policy? Bhavna has asked how to understand how my knowledge in public policy domain can help change my career trajectory. Will knowledge in this domain help me change a career trajectory? Uh, Usha has asked, I am here to indulge myself in what public policy making and how a policy make and create in and around. How do I be a local change maker in my own area with the tool of public policy? Rajni has asked to work at the grassroots level to understand how actual policy made and how an individual we can contribute. So Rajni and Usha have asked similar questions in different dimensions. Bhagya has asked, I am an LLM pursuant, keeping my specialization in law, policy, and good governance. Thus, keenly interested to know practicality of public policy. So she's already studying policy and now wishes to know the practical aspects of it. And Dorang has asked that she has worked, he or she has worked for 6 years in the social sector and wants to know just out of curiosity. Glad I could figure out what JU is. Soumyadeep Datta is a UPSC aspirant and rural development master's degree student. Uh, Soumyadeep has asked, how do I enter the development sector? Rajni has mentioned about her education. Rajesh has talked about how to transition from political journalism to public policy role in corporates. How do I enter into public policy role in corporates? And this is the big domain, guys. In fact, some of the major companies, the MNCs, have currently policy teams of the size of 50 to 60 people in one organization. How do I move to those teams? Nancy has asked to learn how policy can be a way to improve society and how can literature help in policy making and creating good ground results. Very interesting question, Nancy. I don't think I've been asked this before. It's a new question for me. I'd love to answer this. It allows us to be creative in policy frameworks to understand, and then there are some questions which are also repeated. And then someone says about internships. How do I get into such fruitful platforms? Sounds good. And we will ensure that all these questions are answered. And we have approximately 93 people here, approximately 20 live on YouTube. And we begin now. So the question that we are trying to today answer is, how do I enter this domain? How do I find out what is this domain right for me? And how do I find out if I should get into this? So before we even enter there, let's understand how many truly in India are policymakers and how big is the space. So let me paint a very simpler picture for you. The core goal of public policy, or anybody who says I want to be a policymaker, is that they either want to influence policy, they either want to influence social development, and policy is a tool. They want to yield power so that they can do good for the world. They are interested because the space is fun, and they're interested purely because they feel that this is one way to contribute. Let's look at the top of this domain. People who are actually defining policy in India. The people at the highest level who define what India should be doing. How big is that group? Let's do a quick maths with all of us. Let's say India has approximately 550 MPs. Some of them are very powerful, some of them are not so much. Let's take all of them to be somebody who have significant influence in the country, around 500. Let's take the next rung, which is all the MLAs, around 4,000 to 5,000 MLAs in the country. Now, all MPs and MLAs combined, let's say around 5,000 people. This also includes all ministers, the Prime Minister himself, all the chief ministers, everybody who is holding any cabinet position in the state or center gets covered into this 5 to 6,000 people. Then there are approximately 5,000 IS officers right now serving in India across age brackets, across cadres. Around 5,000 IPS officers, around 5,000 IRS and IFS officers combined. This makes the overall number to be 15,000 in bureaucracy. Add around 15,000 in state bureaucracy, who are also extremely powerful in their respective states. I'm not taking the entire state bureaucracy because not everybody yields significant power to actually define policy. Let's take that entire number to be 15,000. State bureaucracy who are also powerful in defining policy of their respective states. So 15,000 in state bureaucracy, 15,000 in national bureaucracy, around 6,000 in the entire MPs and MLAs combined in India. Add to it few thousand media, add to it few thousand academicians, add to it few thousand opinion makers, add to it few thousand think tanks, add to it few thousand policy consulting organizations, and the overall pool is perhaps less than 30,000. The entire nation, 140 crore, 150 crore people, is governed by less than 30,000 people in the country. That's what the top layer of policy looks like. Anybody who wishes to have a significant influence in the nation needs to be part of this group. You run a think tank and you are powerful enough, then you are part of this group. You run a media house, you are part of this group. You are an MP, you are part of this group. You are a bureaucrat with significant influence, you are part of this group. You are a lobbyist, significantly powerful, you are part of this group. You are part of a big business organizations, you are part of this group. This is the top rung of policy. Now come to the absolute bottom. People who are freshers or new in this domain. People who are pursuing their fellowships, people who are young professionals, people who are, part of the CM offices, people who are part of OSD to various ministers, and all of those different people. How do they see it as? They're also the entry level people in policy, and approximately 30,000 people there. 5 to 10 fellowships, approximately 100 to 200 young professional program across ministries, state and center, PMUs in different ministries, consulting organizations who hire freshers, we think organizations like India House, which also have a lot of freshers, and so on and so forth. Around 15,000 roles in the entry level. This 20, 30,000 people here and these 20, 30,000 people here. This is the pipeline of all policy professionals in India. This is the domain where we wish to enter. How do we enter this domain? How do we even think about this domain? But first, it is important to realize that some of us have mentioned about that perhaps we want to do just social development. And it's important to move to the next slide. Next slide, please. To to understand how this domain functions. You see, there are 12 lakh people who are joining the working age population every month. Imagining there are 100 people right now in this call, imagine 12,000 times of this number is entering workforce every month. So there are 12 lakh new job seekers in this country every month. That's how big this is. The 12 lakhs, the size of a tier 2 city in India at times, tier 3 city in India at times. And those many people are joining working group every month. There are 6 crore youth who are unemployed, 3.5 crore pending cases in judiciary. We are 63rd ranked in our ease of doing business. Some of you are pursuing law and is know this, that probably out of these, if with India ranking 63rd, we are probably 150 plus ranked. Out of 190 countries, we are after 150 ranked in our contract enforcement, which is the primary reason why we are so bad in ease of doing business, because our legal systems are broken. We are unable to enforce contracts. And with all of this, there are 33 lakh registered NGOs. Almost as if there is one NGO every street of India. And they're trying to fix problems of education, fixing problems of health, fixing problems of rural livelihoods, and they're doing good work. I do not mean to discount their work at all. They're doing extremely good work, very important for their local communities. But they're also trying to solve problems which ideally government should have fixed. Why do I need to run a small training center for women? Isn't this what government already does? Or government should be doing? Why should I run another school? The government already has a school in my neighborhood. A government should have a school in my neighborhood. ये करना ही चाहिए सरकार को. सरकार का कोर काम है ये. एजुकेशन देना, हेल्थ देना, इन्वायरमेंट बनाना ताकि अच्छे से बिजनेस हो पाए. महिला उद्यमियों को बनाने के लिए अलग से स्कीम चाहिए नहीं चाहिए हो, महिला उद्यमी बन पाए. I'm so sorry, I'm a little sick today, so please pardon my cheeks and my usage of my towel at middle in the program. These are things that are already being done by NGOs and perhaps should be done by the government. Can we move to the next slide? The primary reason is we don't have enough competent people who can design good policies and implement them. And there is shortage of both. There is shortage of ideas. What do we need to do to get there? क्या करें जिससे हमारी हेल्थ सिस्टम बेटर हो जाए? क्या करें जिससे हमारा एजुकेशन सिस्टम बेटर हो जाए? क्या करें जिससे हमारा जुडिशरी बेटर हो जाए? क्या करें जिससे हमारा डिलीवरी ऑफ अ सर्विस बेटर हो जाए? And there is also need for talent. Are our best of minds solving the toughest of challenges? The best lawyer, the best doctor, the best engineer, while they all go on and do different things in life, can we really get them to solve these tough challenges that our policymakers face every day? And that's the reason for existence for India House. How do we solve this shortage of ideas and talent? Can we really solve this? Can we really get our best of minds to solve for India? And that is the reason for India House. And that is why we are working in public policy, because it's a tool for social change. Can we move to the next slide? And this is broadly the domain landscape in which we define three characters, three key stakeholders. We need a politician, we need a bureaucrat, and we need a civil society. All three are known. We have some faces in our heads that we have seen. A politician who comes, can we move back? And a politician who comes in a few years asking for our votes, represents us in the parliament, either at the state level or at the national level, or tries to win an election trying to represent us. The public representatives are much wider. Some of them become MPs or MLAs and represent us. Even those who do not become still continue to represent the causes of the common man in some way or the other. Then there is bureaucrat, the typical babu, as the popular word for a bureaucrat goes in India, a person who sits out of a ministry, of a district headquarters, of the ground level, and engages in either delivery of services or designing of policies. And then we have the civil society, sometimes stalling work that they believe is not good for the nation, sometimes doing work that they believe is good for the nation, but working with the communities to drive social change. And these are the three most popular roles. And the reason why I'm introducing them to you is important to realize that these are the not three only roles available. There is much more to it. And this session is going to be about that. So what we are going to do is we are going to divide this session into three parts. We're going to start with discussing who am I, our own nature, our own personality, our own ways of looking at the world. An important part is in this each of these parts, try to define and identify out of the three or four categories that we are trying to provide in, which category do you most relate with. And then we move to the second part, identifying what is the nature of problem, what type of problem are you trying to solve. And then we move on to the third part, what are the available paths in this domain, what are the various career options in these domains. And then we will try to merge all of this together and give you a very nice framework, एक अच्छा सा स्ट्रक्चर देने की कोशिश करेंगे आपको, जो आपके नेचर जो आप आइडेंटिफाई करोगे इन द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड, उन प्रॉब्लम्स को आइडेंटिफाई करोगे जो आप सॉल्व करना चाहते हो अपने जीवन में, और डिफाइन कर पाओगे कि शायद मेरे लिए पूरी दुनिया के सारे ऑप्शंस मुझे एक्सप्लोर करने की जरूरत नहीं है, शायद ये चार ऑप्शंस मैंने एक्सप्लोर कर लिया तो अच्छा है। एंड फिर हम बात करेंगे हर डोमेन को अचीव कैसे करना है, उस हर कैटेगरी को, हर उस सेक्टर को जहां पे मैं बेस्ट फिट हो सकता हूँ, हाउ डू आई रीच आउट टू दैट डोमेन. And this is what we're going to do. And I will request my co-webinar host, Nachiketa, to take over and guide us through defining this idea of who am I and the nature of problem. Over to you, Nachiketa.
Thank you, Kumarji. I hope you can hear me. So, while we are doing this, this takes me back to almost 8 years ago when I was myself an engineer coming out of IIT and was trying to figure out uh, what to do in life. And though I had some inclinations in some directions, but didn't know how to channelize my energy. This was a framework I was introduced 8 years back, and it really helped me. And I'll try to give a gist of this framework to you as well today. And I hope a lot of you would also get some direction in, which direction would you would should you head or would you like to head towards. So let's start with the very, very simple question. Who am I? So, we feel that there are three kinds of people that we see. First are the ones who are the problem solvers. These are the people who are obsessed with the problem. Once they see a problem, they want to solve it in any manner possible. For example, if somebody sees a child at the uh, like at the streets and he's begging, they don't just give that child something, but they gets this as a problem and they want to solve it right away, and they think in the direction, how do I solve this problem, and why does this problem even exist? So these are the people who are very, very high risk takers. These are the people who are entrepreneurs, who are natural entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship as if is in their veins, as if it just comes so naturally. So they just want to solve the problem. They are very, very path agnostic. They don't aspire to take a particular path to solve that problem. They do whatever it takes to solve that problem. So one type of people are the problem solvers. You have to think if you are a problem solver. Second kind of people are careerists. Careerists are those people who see their life just like a ladder. They know where they want to go, they know what they want to achieve, and they would like to go through life like a ladder. They are generally risk averse, much more risk averse than problem solvers. They are the ones who seek stability in their lives. Most of the people who go for MBA, they are generally sure of what they want to do. Which position do they want to be at after coming out of MBA? So such people are the careerists. They know what do they want in their life, what laurels they want, what positions they want. They are very clear about it, and they just follow the path that has already been charted out. So these are the people who are careerists. Then there is third category of people are the satisfaction seekers. These are the people who seek the satisfaction in everyday life. For example, I gave an example of a problem solver who sees a child at the street and want to solve that problem. If somebody is a satisfaction seeker, that person will get the satisfaction by giving something to that particular child. These are the people who generally you might have seen. There are such some people who carry some chips or the packet of biscuits or some food along with themselves, so that if they find somebody on the road begging or something, and they just take it out and give it to them. And not just this, they get a lot of satisfaction in if they are able to achieve something very very tangible outcomes through the act of kindness. So those are the people who are satisfaction seekers. They generally get this satisfaction, or they want to be satisfied at the end of the day. So at this point, I would like you to just see yourself. Are you a problem solver? Are you obsessed with problem? Anything you see and you want to solve it? Are you a careerist? Do you generally want to, take a particular path, uh, follow a process, and reach to a position where you want to reach? Or are you a satisfaction seeker who wants to achieve small targets each and every day, and that is something that gives you happiness? And I'm sure as you see this framework, you might feel that, though I feel I'm a problem solver, but I think I'm a satisfaction seeker also. So I'm not saying that you will resonate with only one of them, but what I'm trying to say is you will find one of them as the main drive in you, as the main something that really drives you. You could be a mix of three, you could be a mix of two, but uh, there'll be one dominance that you will find in yourself amongst these three. I would stop at this point, and I would like you to think, take half a minute, and in case you are a problem solver, I would like you to do a thumbs up. In case you are a satisfaction seeker, I would like you to push the heart button. And in case you are a careerist, I would like you to push the clap button. So just there are emojis at the bottom, and you can use those emojis. And just would like to know, what do you think you are?
These emojis are present in the react button at the bottom of your screen.
Thank you so much. A lot of people are problem solvers. Some are satisfaction seekers also. Amazing. Thank you so much. Amazing. Yes, so we see the kind of diversity we have amongst ourselves. Some of there are different drives, and it's important to know what drives us really. So that's what will lead you to what would you like to actually do in your life in this career path. In this, the second step is the nature of problem. Uh, so based on a lot of problems that we had around, hundreds of problems, we try to categorize those problems into just four categories, so that we can see the problem. There all of those problems can be categorized in these four categories, so that we have a broader picture of how the nature of problems look like, and what really interests me in terms of the nature of problem I want to solve. So the first kind of nature of problem is the lack of law. So either there's a problem and there is no law, or there is a law that is creating a problem. There So as you might have seen, there in almost around 2018 we got a plastic ban law, and our government tried to enforce it. For some time it was going well as well. However, we know what is the situation right now. So that is the lack of law. And somebody who is really passionate to see that, okay, law is there, but it is not but it is not getting enforced. And it is also creating more problems than solving the problems. So that is where the lack of law comes. Second type of problem is ideology or social issues. These are the problems, or these are the issues that are not going to get solved either in a decade. It will take multiple decades to actually solve this problem, because it's not a problem that will solve just by changing a law or just by bringing in a policy. It is a problem that will be resolved by changing the mindsets at large. And somebody who would like to solve an ideological or a social issue need to be very, very patient. It may take lifetimes to actually solve this problem, but this is a problem worth solving. So yes, ideology and social issues is another type of problem that some people choose for their lives. The third kind of problem is implementation gaps. It doesn't mean that we don't have laws or we don't have policies. We have laws, we have policies, but the poor implementation is what leads to not getting the right outcomes or not getting the right results. For example, in terms of education, we know we have had policies, but if the implementation is not right, the right outcomes and results are not there. So somebody who one of the problems is the implementation gap. So somebody who really wants to solve that implementation gap, wants to go at the grassroots, want to understand why is it not getting implemented, and is it is one of the problems that might interest you. Sorry. And the another kind of problem is lack of understanding of the problem, and that is where the India House is also working at. There are some problems where we don't even understand that it's a problem. For example, judicial delays. While we are discussing with our friends, or while we are on our dining tables discussing some topics, these are some things, these are the issues which don't generally come into the picture because we don't understand that there is some problem. So these are the problems which are still the hidden ones, which are still some things which are not at the surface. Not everybody knows about these problems. A lot of research is needed to understand such problems, and or the part of such problems. So this is the fourth kind of problem, which is the lack of understanding of the problem, and this is where the India House is also working. Can we see the problems that are not so much visible but has a huge impact, and can we also make people aware about the understanding of those problems? So these are the four nature of problems that we have in front of us, and similar to what we did in Who Am I, can you also relate to some of these problems? Can you also relate uh, that you are the one who would like to solve, say, an ideological issue? You are the one who would like to solve the implementation gaps. You don't care which policy, which laws came in, but you really care that how are those getting implemented, how am I able to get the right outcomes, or how can I make my country and the people of my country to achieve what they want to achieve via the policies that are already existing. So you might be able to relate to one of them, and I would like you to let's call in the lack of law. If you really relate with the lack of law, you can do a thumbs up. If you relate with the ideology or social issues, you can do a clap. If you relate with the implementation gaps, you can give us an heart. And if you relate with the third kind of problem, I'm seeing the emoji, what's the next emoji, you can give, say, celebration. Yes. Oh wow, we have a mix of emojis coming in. And I am so happy that we have all kinds of people. We have so much diversity in this group who want to solve different issues. Thank you so much all for showing your interest into this. Yes. So once we understand who we are, what are the nature of problems that exist, what's the next step? What's the natural next step? Can I, based on my swabhava, based on who I am, and based on what is needed in the country, what are the kinds of problem are there which exist, can I find out some of the available, paths that are there, uh, that can help you to achieve what you really want to achieve, and that also keeps into account what you who you really are as a person. So uh, I would like to invite Kumarji to share these paths with us, because he has been working into this with the people across these paths for a long time. Kumarji, if you could just take us through these paths, that'll be helpful.
Sure. Thank you, Nachiketa ji. So, guys, you already know who am I, and you also know what are the available paths and which are the problems that are worth solving for in this nation. Uh, Over here, what we are going to do is we're going to just show you what are the possible paths that you already know of or you might wish to know of. So, one big path of solving for policy is by joining politics. And this is a domain which is very high risk, high return. It's a domain in which the risk is high that you might or might not just make it. For the 5,000 or 10,000 people that currently have been MPs or MLAs in this term or the previous term, half of them get replaced next year. And we have a very high replacement rate for our members of parliament and members of legislative assembly. Still, if you're able to join in and actually give your commitment for a long time, the gestation period might be long. The period that it takes to actually be impactful is long. And still, if you are able to make it, you can actually have a very, very significant impact. An MP or MLA or a minister or a CM or PM holds considerable sway over deciding what the next course of direction for the nation would be. And you could be one of them. You could define the trajectory of the nation, not just by ideas, but by core execution. And you would be the one who would be defining it. But as mentioned, it is a high risk, high return path. The next path is bureaucracy. We know the process for it. There is a wider exam. Some of you have also mentioned you are preparing for UPSC. It's an exam in which there is generic public service for a long duration, and there is a high barrier for entry. The first 5 6 years you're basically not doing anything a lot of impactful. Then you become a DM and you have a direct impact. Then after DM, once you get into the ministry roles, again you don't have a lot of impact. And then once you become a secretary, a joint secretary, secretary or additional secretary, then again you start having very significant impact in defining the way policies will be defined for that particular domain. So there is a period at the beginning in which you have a very, very good direct impact. And then there is a period towards the fag end of your career in which you have a direct impact. And this is the way in which bureaucracy functions. It's a high barrier to entry. It's a very aspirational, especially in families where you are probably the first generation bureaucrat or second generation bureaucrat. Uh, there is huge aspiration in all across Hindi belt, in some bits of southern India, a lot of northeastern India, some bits of western India. There is a great drive to become bureaucracy, and a lot of people spend years preparing for it. Just day before yesterday, exams came in. Two of my friends got in. Probably 10 others did not, and lakhs of other people were extremely disappointed because one more year of their training time has gone in, and they are right now sitting and deciding whether to prepare for one more year or not. And that's the journey with bureaucracy. It's a high barrier to entry program. The third level path is academic research. It's a journey of intellectual stimulation. It's a journey which can change the direction of thinking of society in the long run. Approximately 11 years ago, I met a professor called Professor Junjanwala. At that time, he was a professor of IIT Madras, and he asked us a very simple question. Suppose we need to get into electronic vehicles in India. And this is 10 years ago, by the way. EVs were not common at all. And somebody asked that, if I need to get into EVs, which aspect of public transportation I should first make into an electronic based transmission? which public transportation system should be first made into electronic vehicles. And we all took guesses. Some of us mentioned trains, some of us mentioned, uh, buses, some of us mentioned uh, something else. And we were limited by our own understanding of public transportation. And 2014, he met us. 2015, he shared. 2015, sorry, this year was 2015. And 2015, he shared. At that time, he had become an advisor to the that time Minister of Power, Piyush Goyal ji. And as a professor, he had become an advisor. And at that time, he mentioned that first we were going to replace all the local public transportations, all the shared autos that we have, and replace them with EV shared autos. At that time, we just could not believe what he said. Come 2019, and I come from a very, very small town in Jharkhand, and my city had thousands of EV rickshaws, what we call tuk-tuks or totos or e-rickshaws or e-vehicles. These are small e-rickshaws, 6-seater, 8-seater, smaller ones, which have now present across the nation, and this has happened in the last 8 years. This was the outcome of a research done by a professor at IT Madras. The same I have also seen in humanities. People who have done good research has changed the direction of thinking of society in the long run. And this is also a relatively secure career path. If you're really passionate about a domain, pursuing academic research in that and becoming an academician in that holds a lot of sway. And then we moved on to the next set of available paths. And we have the role of becoming an activist. People who can get a law passed or stalled. Amazing power. Just recently, we had seen the entire national government bowing down to the requests of dairy farmers and not allowing American imports into dairy sector. Happened because some activists in Gujarat actually went around going to women farmers, asking them to write a letter to the Prime Minister, which later reached the Prime Minister's home in plain Gujarati, asking Narendra Bhai, I am your sister from this place. I have itna number of cows and buffaloes, and I need your support in ensuring that I can get my daughter married. RTI, Narega, PIL, all of them were activist led. Some activists from Rajasthan led us to actually create Narega. Some activists from Madhya Pradesh actually led us to pass a law for right to information. Somebody from southern India led us to pass a law around PILs. And then there is a path of NGOs, which are addressing a problem at a small scale comprehensively. Gives immediate results. There is perhaps lack of scale or sustainability of outcomes, but in that area, that particular time, those community members really get benefited from it. And that's the work of NGOs. And then we also have the next part, think tank or consultancies. If you're working on a think tank or a consulting group in which there is a problem to be solved at that point of time, you want to suggest something to the government, you want to research on something and highlight the problem, how big or small the problem is, you can actually influence or assist the government. It's a second level impact. You don't directly make the change, but you actually influence the change. Right now, India House is working on a domain of allied healthcare. Can you go back? India House is working on a domain of allied healthcare. You remember the paramedical staff, the X-ray technician, the person who takes your blood for your blood sampling, the person who operates the MRI machine when you go there, the person who takes you on a stretcher inside an hospital. All of them are allied healthcare professions. And we are working and guiding the government, trying to advise the government, trying to suggest some things to the government on how to make your policies around allied healthcare more in sync with what the community needs, both allied healthcare professions and India at large. And this is the work of a think tank. Consulting bodies on a similar level also work in the way in which they have a problem passed on to them by somebody else. Somebody says that, I need better policies, let's say for volunteering ecosystem in India. And then you work with that NGO to create those policies around that. This is the work of a think tank or consultancy. It's a second level impact and much stable in larger organizations. These are broadly the 6 available paths that we have seen in the policy space. There are also other paths. You may join a multilateral organization, for example, join World Bank, Asian Development Bank, French Development Bank, and so on, and influence policies from there. There is also mega NGOs, from Gates Foundation to global foundations like Save International. in which you work at large across the world at times, trying to influence social good in those areas. There is also a possibility of media, in which you try to influence the government from outside, trying to put in the right voices at the right places. And these are broadly the available paths, my friends. In terms of pure financial returns, can we go to the next slide? Purely financially, activism pays the least. As an activist, we don't even get to see the names of them till it becomes policies. They work for years, they devote their lifetimes to solving one social challenge. And the social good is felt. Perhaps the financial returns are not so much. Then is the path of NGOs or politics. As a district president of a party, you don't get paid anything. And still, you have to spend a lot of money from your own pockets. You can learn from non honest means, but the honest means don't directly pay you. And if you are thinking of entering this, be clear on how would you manage your own finances. NGOs, they don't pay you well, but give you a lot of satisfaction. You feel happy about yourself. Then we have academia or think tanks, in which you do research around different domains of policy. Then we have the bureaucracy, and then we have consultancy or corporates. This is the typical ladder of financial returns across these domains. They are not representative. People may do it very differently. You may People may employ very different modes or means to drive themselves in this. And imagine if your needs are low, all of these domains are open for you. If your needs are higher, some of these domains go away from you. It is our needs that define our level of freedom to actually do what we wish to do. And we move on to the next slide. And now we try to club all of this together and see where you started from, on which type of person you are, and which type of problem you wish to solve, and how does this work. And I pass it on back to my colleague Nachiketa ji to take this forward.
Thank you, Kumarji. So yes, this is basically a sort of culmination of what we have discussed so far: the nature of person and the nature of problems. Is there a way that I can find out where do I lie based on the nature I have and the nature of problem I want to solve? So, for example, if I am a satisfaction seeker and I want to solve a problem which is implementation gap, set up an NGO or a bureaucracy is one of the ways to do this. In bureaucracy, you are actually able to implement a lot of policies, a lot of schemes that come in. You have this power to actually implement those policies on the ground and to actually see the result of those policies as well, in the front of your own eyes. And that is something that also gives you a lot of satisfaction in each and everyday life. So yes, and setting up an NGO is definitely another thing wherein you are implementing a lot of policies by the government and providing the direct benefits to the beneficiaries, and you can imagine the kind of satisfaction it gives. Say, let us take another example. For example, I'm a careerist and want to solve somebody's a careerist and want to solve the problem of understanding the problem. We feel that problem is not understood well enough, and I don't want a lot of risk in my life. I want a very settled life, and want to really solve the problem. Then what is the path? What is what is the career path that I can take? So you can probably be an academic researcher. It is intellectually stimulating. Every day you will find out, once you have to once you see a problem, you try to go behind that problem. Why is it happening? What is the why is it there? What is the causation? What is the correlation with the other problems, and why does it exist? You are free to define the problem and the solution on your own. You can also, as Kumarji mentioned, you can also give a direction to the society on how a particular problem can be solved and what are the ways, what are the solutions to a particular problem. And yes, as an academician, you have a very stable career path. Or you may join a think tank. That's also very, very intellectually stimulating. It gives you though these days the think tanks are not very, I would say, stable, but yes, it gives you a stable job and you are able to understand the problem at its core. That's how you can find yourself. So in this, let us go in one column, and let's say problem solvers is one, careerists is two, satisfaction seekers is three, and on the in the above row, let's say ideology is A, lack of law is B, implementation gaps is C, and understanding the problem is D. Just figure out where do you fall. So I would like to see the in the chat your responses. Are you 1A, are you 2D, or what, where do you actually fall? So happy to looking forward to seeing your responses on the chat.
And you can also probably be not just in one cell, but in two, three cells. Feel free to keep it a combination of two, three cells. So, for example, I am somebody who is a problem solver, and I am somebody who is solving the problem of understanding the problem. I believe the works that I'm doing, the projects that I'm taking, the kind of things that I'm running is about understanding the problem. So I become 1D. And as Rajesh, for example, has mentioned 2C and 2D. Vilash has mentioned 2D. Fela Shabir has mentioned 1D and 2D. Vihan has mentioned 2C. Where do you currently fall? And then we have one more slide to showcase you all. And that slide is about how do I enter this domain? Do all of us need to spend a few years preparing for UPSC in a closed room with only books and newspapers? Or are there other paths as well? And the space is just opening up, guys. The last 10 years, I've seen the space open up a lot. So feel free to put in all of your responses here. Sambhavi has mentioned 1D and 3C. Richa has mentioned 1C and 1D. Katta Satya Praneeth has mentioned 1A, 1C, and 2C. Somebody has mentioned 1D and 2C. And these are very, very interesting responses. Which of these dimensions do you belong to? We will take a pause of 30 seconds before we move on to the next part. And I request by then, please put in your responses here. Even if you're confused, put that out. I'm confused between this and this.
And just to add on to that, don't feel that you are being boxed by it. It's not about boxing yourself, but it's more about understanding where do you actually fall. It may change over the years. For example, I feel I am a satisfaction seeker turned problem solver. So it may change over the years, but where do you actually fall today?
And with this, we move on to the next slide, which is primarily about how do we reach there. Now I know that I am 1D, or I am 1C, or I am 2C, or I am 2D, or I am 1A, or I am 2B. And all of these domains, I believe that we know probably where we are. How do I reach there? Is there a beginning path? And these are some beginning paths that we have compiled for you. For example, if you want to join politics, you need not start by contesting an election first. You need to understand how a politician works and thinks. If I want to become a politician, do I need to start only after I have gathered a few crores to contest my election, or influence lakhs of people before I contest my election? Perhaps no. Perhaps I can see how electioneering works, how politicians function, how do they think, how what their daily life looks like, and then decide whether I want to pursue this path or not. For this, I can become a legislative assistant to members of parliament. Right now, there is Lamb Fellowship and Mukherjee Fellowship that enables that. I can become political and development assistants. All MPs keep an assistant in their, keep one or five up to 10 assistants in their respective constituencies. I can become that. I can become an OSD or a PS2 minister if I know somebody, if somebody is there to put in a good word for me. Campaign management is a massive field in India now. From Association of Billion Minds to Varahe Consulting to Showtime Consulting, there are at least 10 different agencies right now which do political campaign management. And I can possibly join them. If I want to give a taste of bureaucracy, or because I wanted to get into bureaucracy, are there other paths apart from the whole idea of UPSC or state services? Right now, Niti Aayog is hiring a lot of young professionals. Government consulting roles open almost every day now. There are PMUs of all major programs that each ministry runs for their management of the program, of the scheme. What this needs is some form of connections and demonstrated domain experience. If I want to join the social sector and contribute, there are local NGOs and there are national NGOs. There are social enterprises and there are multilateral agencies. Then there are impact funds. All of them trying to work with the policy landscape at large, trying to work in the social domain with policy or policy domain with social experience. Then there is policy arm for corporates. Meta has a team of 50 plus people in India. Reliance has 100 plus people in policy team. Adani has a big policy team. So do small think tanks also, small organizations also. They all need to engage with the regulatory environment. They need to understand which laws are getting formed, how do they are getting formed. They need to influence the process. And they have very good policy teams. Then there is analysis and research. This can be in the form of academia or think tanks, in which if you're good in data, if you're good in social sciences research, if you're good in writing around a narrative, you can probably do a small research internship and get into this domain, or write public media articles and be noticed by some organizations which are doing good work and wish to have such people. Or there is policy consulting. From Samagra, can you go back? From Samagra, which works in governance, to Pranava Institute, which works in uh, enabling tech policy. From Pehle India Foundation, which works on economic policy, to India House, which works on capacity building of major government institutions. If you are good in either data or presentation or writing or articulation or just plain systemic understanding, and if you're comfortable with some numbers, comfortable with design, comfortable with presenting your ideas better, or have a domain expertise, policy consulting is a great way to start. And this is also the place where a lot of your questions get answered. We very, very strongly believe at India House that policy is not a domain in which degrees matter a lot. I am myself an engineer, and half of my team do not have formal policy backgrounds. Half of them do. So definitely there is some role of a formal education in this domain. But it is not a bottleneck. It is not a deal breaker. We can do good work if we understand this domain better. So there are ways around it. One way to do it is just you go ahead in any domain and you become an expert in that domain. Naturally, policymakers would reach out to you. If you are the best in your domain, everybody wants your time. The second possible case is if you're self-learning, go to a government office and spend a day there. Wait outside a DM office. See the different people who are coming in. What are they asking the DM? Think of yourself sitting in the DM chair and identify what can you do and build your skills around those answers. Go to a government hospital and see what all policy interventions could be done in that government hospital. Can you do something about it? And that's one possible way. Or you can learn it via doing internships or early career roles. India House is hiring currently on our website. You can see various career roles open for us. Around 4 roles are open for first year or freshers as well. But there are other roles as well. Or a fourth way could be do a small program that introduces you to the concept of public policy, trains you with practical skills in public policy. And here is what we also plug in for the next 5 minutes, a quick plug-in of what India House does in such programs. And we move on to the next slide, introducing you to the program of Policy Pioneers, which is a 4-month hybrid hands-on program. It is built for working professionals. So if you are working somewhere and wish to get an exposure to public policy, this program is built for you. This holds weekend sessions. You actually work with a real bureaucrat on a real program. You actually solve a real social problem that a bureaucrat floats as a project, and you support that bureaucrat, engaging with that bureaucrat directly. IIT Delhi Public Systems Lab is a formal partner in this. Pehle India Foundation, the Pranava Institute, both of them leading think tanks in the country, are partners in the program. We have world-class faculty from Ivy League professors from Duke and Oxford to professors from IITs and IIMs. The next edition is being offered in trade policy, technology policy, and public systems. And this is the program, core structure of the program. It will start from May and will go on till September. And just to give more details on the program, very quickly, it is based on experiential learning, collaborative circles, and very, very real world application. We don't teach theory. In fact, we actively discourage us from learning core theory without application. So if you learn a theory, it has to be accompanied with an application. If you learn, for example, a framework to look at governance, it has to be accompanied with applying that framework into a real world governance situation. Only then it sticks. And that's what we try to do pedagogically. Move ahead. Can we move on to the next slide? The curriculum includes a lot of domain workshops. If you are in tech policy, do a workshop in tech policy. If you are in trade policy, do a workshop in trade policy. If you are, let's say, in public systems, do a workshop in public systems. There are a lot of policy workshops. There are 15% sessions which are common across all tracks. There are 5% which are around careers of this domain. 10% is core policy knowledge. And around 25% is core domain knowledge. So around 50% of the curriculum is distinct. They are specific to your domain. 50% of the curriculum is common, in which you work on core ideas of policy. From very basic sessions on how to read a policy document, how to read a regulation, how to read an act, to also going deeper and asking, how do I write a public media article? All of them become part of the curriculum. Can we move on to the next slide? There is application process. On the website, the applications are live. The next phase deadline is 15th of March. Go ahead to the next round. Next slide. And this is broadly about today. What we did today, and a quick recap for what we did today, we started by talking about what does this domain offer? What all are possible career paths? Identifying who are you as an individual? What is your core nature? And that core nature should become your guiding force in your life. Then we moved on to defining what type of problems are worth solving for. Is there a clustering for the problems that India needs to be solved? And then we created a grid, a good 3x4 grid in which all of us responded by saying what brackets best fit for me. And then we moved on further and defined basically entry pathways for such careers, and in which you possibly identified that this is an entry path for me. And then we plugged in the last 5 minutes, it did something about policy pioneers that some of you might be interested in. This is broadly the idea of careers in public policy. It is a difficult career path, and yet it is rewarding enough to be excited by it. It is a career path with a lot of unpredictability. But that's what makes it also fun, because change making, if it had been predictable, it had already been solved. If India's education system was as easily solved as training of a teacher, then we would not suffer. Somebody would have solved it. If it is not solved, it must be a little more complex, requiring your time, requiring Jagan, Samveda, Atul, Pranjal, Smita, Ankit, Lohita, and all of your time. And it's important to realize, how do we go ahead and solve it? And that's all for today's session. We have 17 more minutes. We will ensure that we answer all of your questions that we have been asked here. If any of your questions are getting missed, please feel free to put them again in this bottom. I will start from the bottom, go to the top, and then again come back to the bottom. This is to ensure if any question has already been answered, does not get asked again. So feel free to re-put your questions if they have already been put as well. The last 10-15 questions are visible to me very easily. I will start from there, and then again I will come back to the bottom and see more questions that have been asked. So I will start by a question from Samveda. Do you think such degree needs to be from a university like LKYPP? LKYPP, I suppose, is Lee Kuan Yew University out of Singapore, which offers a master's in public policy program. So Samveda, LKY is a great school. In fact, the best school in all of Asia. Relevant for us. Chinese policy schools exist, but not so relevant for India. LKY offers a lot of similarities to India. Even their case studies are based out of India. Some of their case studies are based out of India. It's a good school to be in. So definitely imagine this is a different career path. Will that help you to build a career in public policy? If you are not exposed at all, I will suggest you to work for a year or so in public policy in India and then do a master's. If your master's is decided. If your master's is not decided, then after a year, once you have worked in this, then you can decide. There are approximately 100, 200 people in my own network who are from LKY across the last 10 years who have graduated. And I'm sure you would be able to find a lot more on LinkedIn. Reach out to them, ask them how much of their LKY degree is helping them, both for degree's sake, because such programs, when your name come from LKY, it helps. When you studied in Singapore in a world's leading policy school, it helps. If you're looking for a brand name to get added to your profile, definitely you should pursue. But in either of the cases, I will suggest to first work in public policy for approximately a year and then go for a master's program. You will also get much better scholarships. Hope I answered your question, Samveda. Please feel free to ask anything that you might wish to ask. Sandeep has a question which asks, as a Gandhi Fellow, how can I leverage my grassroots experience to transition into a career of public policy, policy formulation and implementation? Sandeep, Gandhi Fellowship asks you to work with a school principal. So you already are a bit aware of the district administration of school education. If you wish to work in education itself, there are education-based think tanks in India which you can directly consider immediately after your experience as well. One senior member of Piramal Group has now also moved into starting a leadership institute called School of Ultimate Leadership, which is hiring a lot of Gandhi Fellows, probably because of common connection. That's one good place to get into. There are good ways in which training of officials of who are into policy formulation and implementation. Now, it is important to realize, Sandeep, that policy formulation and implementation are two separate brackets. They are often done by the same bureaucrats, but they are two different skills. Policy formulation requires you to have extensive knowledge of how to write better, because you don't want to create a policy with a lot of loopholes. So being capability to think through all possibilities and write policies in that language is the important skill of policy formulation. For policy implementation, you can go into PMUs, project management units. You can get into a lot of these consulting groups which implement projects, or you can join the bureaucracy in the form of a young professional or in the form of, let's say, a consultant with a ministry. They do a lot of policy implementation. Hope I answered your question, Sandeep. Feel free to ask a follow-up question. If I answered your question, even then, okay, Sandeep has said yes. So I suppose Sandeep has got the answer. Uh, Atul says, where would social entrepreneurs fit in this framework? Atul, social entrepreneurs are problem solvers who are solving for any of the four domains. So the entire row of problem solvers is for social entrepreneurs. If you're a social entrepreneur who is working, let's say, in implementation of a policy, then you have a grid. If you're a social entrepreneur in which you are trying to create more awareness about a problem that society is facing, you are a social entrepreneur and a problem solver. That entire row is social entrepreneurship. And then there are enterprises in which they're trying to solve specific types of problems. I hope I answered your question, Atul. Feel free to ask a follow-up question. Uh, Samveda has also asked earlier in a question, in a reply to Advocate Nishtha Bajpayee, where Nishtha Bajpayee said constitutional law research scholar. She's a constitutional law research scholar and she wants to become a professor of law. So professors are extremely powerful tool of impacting public policy, Nishtha. In fact, if you are a government professor in either state government or central government, they are the only government servants who are also allowed to contest an election. As a railway employee, you are not allowed to. As a bank employee, you are not allowed to. But as a professor, you are allowed to contest an election. Even if you don't wish to contest an election, your pieces are heard and read by people. If you're writing an opinion piece in a global national newspaper, people read you because people respect a professor. So professor of law is a great way to influence public policy. Probably you need to develop some tools of public policy. So try to find out places in which you can learn about how does a system function. एक सेक्शन ऑफिसर क्या करता है सरकारी ऑफिस में, एक डीएम अपना फंड किससे अप्रूव कराता है, ये जो कोर सिस्टमिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग है ये समझने की कोशिश अच्छा होगी निष्ठा. हम ऐसा पॉलिसी पाइनियर्स में पढ़ाते हैं एंड देयर आर 100 अदर वेज टू आल्सो लर्न इट. पॉलिसी पाइनियर्स इज जस्ट वन वे. बट इस तरह की कुछ नॉलेज लेंगे तो आप अपनी लॉ की नॉलेज को इस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की नॉलेज से मर्ज कर पाएंगे निष्ठा. Samvita has asked, I'm a law graduate who has been working with a law firm for almost 2 years. I know for a fact multilateral organizations. Do you think a formal degree master's is necessary? Yes, Samveda. Most multilateral organizations need a formal master's degree. They need not only have a degree in public policy. Any form of master's is needed because they are usually get a lot of applications and masters help. But much more important than masters, what was more important for a multilateral organization is also to see you have a background of some work around public policy. So while you pursue your masters in any domain, also think of how to build a profile that looks good to a multilateral organization. This may mean doing an internship with an MP. This may mean working in a think tank. This may mean writing public media articles. This may mean articulating your views in some ways. This may mean just knowing how a system functions. So it's important to realize that there is a baseline. The master's is definitely needed is to apply in some roles. But more than that, there would be 1,000+ applications for 5 or 6 roles. How do you stand out in those 1,000? And that is only possible if you have some experience in public policy. So work with a bureaucrat in some way. Our hands-on projects and Policy Pioneers provides for that. And then there are other ways. Hope I answered your question, Samveda and Nishta. Moving up. And some RV has asked, as a public administration student, I am transitioning from a corporate career to one focused on purpose over profit. So glad to meet you, RV. My goal is to apply my academic background and professional experience to systemic challenges and ensure policy effectively reaches the grassroots for development. I seek a role where professional growth is measured in social impact, is measured by social impact in community. Hopefully get a chance in public policy career to grow. Yes, public policy is the right career in it. I don't see a question here. I suppose you just wanted to express this emotion. I am with you in this emotion, RV. And I will come back to the bottom. There are 6 new questions. Samvida has asked, I've applied for Policy Pioneers program. By when will I receive update schedule? I'm currently thinking of working with NGOs simultaneously with my full-time job. Is it a feasible thing to do? If you are doing a full-time job, you will not be able to, beyond the Policy Pioneers, you will not be able to do 2 things at once. You will also will either be able to work on your NGOs or work in a full-time or work in Policy Pioneers. So I would suggest to choose one of the two. If your work is very free in terms of your time, you may choose to do so. But a regular full-time job, 8 hours of shift, 8 hours of work is extremely difficult to do both Policy Pioneers and in working of an NGO. However, Policy Pioneers program will begin only in the month of May. So you have a few months. Do contribute to a good NGO if you wish to. It will really help in building a good understanding of how society works, Samvida. Abhi's iPad has asked, I think is the Abhi. iPad is just a tool. I am currently working abroad after obtaining a PhD in environmental engineering. Although I like the job, which is mostly staying in the labs and it's in the corporate, I prefer a profession which involves public dealing and social impact. It's just about a year of me being in the job. It's the right time for transition as I wish to return back to India. The best time to return back to India was 10 years ago. The next best time is today, Abhi. I think the kind of dynamism we are seeing in India is unparalleled. A lot of my friends have returned back. In fact, 2 of my directors at India House are professors in IIT Delhi and IIT Roorkee. Both were working in the US and both returned back to join as a professor. So this is good time to be. Environment engineering is also a very active field of work in India. A lot of corporates do take in environment engineers because it helps them adapt themselves to the laws of Europe, and which is a great way to intervene. A lot of government agencies also now look for environment engineers. Apart from that, the entire policy around carbon credits, entire policy around compulsory environment protection laws, all of them require good environment engineers. So there is possibility to work in India, Abhi. Right time to transition, if all constraints are met, the best time to transition to India is now. If there are constraints that are particular to your situation, then those constraints should define your choice. India is ready and India wishes to have you, Abhi. Are you ready and wish to be in India? That's the choice you have to make. Fela Shabir is asking, I'm a final year geography student. Oh, nice. My father is a geography professor, Fela. And I'm applying to public policy internships, but unable to one because I lack direct experience in policy research. Can you share some practical insights on how can get their first research or policy internship? Yes, Fela. One direct way to do it is, Fela, that you start writing. So there are 3 ways to do it. So one, you develop your skill set in some domains. I think Fela Shabir is okay. So I'm answering Fela Shabir's question. How to get first research or policy intention. So one way Fela is that there are different skills required in policy research. One is writing. You need to write well. Number two, data. You need to be comfortable in data, doing some form of data analysis. Number three is you need to have a systemic understanding. What all is there, how do they work, and so on. Number four, you required experience of past policies. You need to know that PM Awas Yojana is not the first Awas Yojana of India, and Swachh Bharat Mission is not the first clean drive of India. There have been history of it around before also. So if that is the case, this needs to be demonstrated to a potential hire. This needs to be demonstrated to a potential organization in which you are applying for a role. So one, you can start writing actively. Use your LinkedIn to write long pieces. You'll use Substack or write somewhere. That helps in understanding people that you are actually serious about this. Number two, if you're good in data, do a lot of data analysis with publicly available data. Data.gov.in is a great platform to find data sources. Do some research around data. If you are understanding systems, try to understand systems in some ways. This can be done by just, paying a visit to the local DM office, as I mentioned earlier. Lohita has asked, how can one work with bureaucrats?
Just
Lohita,
to
one good
add
way to work
on
with.
to, sorry, Kumarji, just to
Yeah,
add on to Fela's question, at India House also we have start writing in policy, start acting in policy challenges. So you can probably take one of those challenges and it will help you and it will nudge you. You will get a community to actually work on those challenges. So it's start writing in policy. It's these are 7 day, 30-day challenges that we conduct at India House, and it actually helps you to write, even if it gives you we give you topic, we give you the time to write, and we also nudge you with a lot of community and all to actually do that. So you can join maybe one of those which will just help you to yeah start
thank
into
you.
this.
Thank you, Nachiketa ji. Lohita has asked, how can one work with bureaucrats? So one good way to work with bureaucrats, Lohita, is the hands-on project at Policy Pioneers. You on the website can see a list of bureaucrats that we have worked with in the previous edition. There will be around 25 new bureaucrats that we would onboard this year for doing hands-on projects with them. The second way to work with bureaucrats is just directly reach out. Go to your local DM and ask that DM sir or DM ma'am, I want to work with you. I can contribute in these dimensions of your work. I can contribute in background research. I can contribute in your coordination. I can contribute in any implementation that you're doing, or I can give you ground feedback. Help me with it. And the bureaucrat will most likely allow you in, because they don't get a lot of us asking for this, Lohita. The third way is cold reaching out. I used to reach out to a lot of cold bureaucrats via cold emails, and some of them respond back. That's how we get them to also offer projects. Richa, hope I answered your question, Lohita. Richa has asked, I'm a second year journalism student interested in public policy and want to do an internship, but I don't have the experience for that. What skills should I build? We have a team member who is a journalism graduate, Richa. Um, the skills that she brought in was one, just pure passion for social impact. And that's what led us to have her in the team, and she's contributing very well to the organization. Uh, the second skill that probably is writing, and journalism offers you that. Journalism allows you to write, and it requires you to write. So while you are a journalism student, some of your alums would be placed at editors in different newspapers. Write for them. Say that I want to publish in Popular Media. Write in those portals. Create your own portal if you wish to, and write. Writing is a great tool that journalism students already have. Number two, as a journalist student, you know which are the right questions to ask. You know how to ask these questions. Your 5W1H framework that is taught in every journalism school is a great framework. Do that with each of the policy topics that you get, and just actively post on your LinkedIn account. That will help you get noticed by possible people. Hope this answers your question, Richa. I think Rajesh, the same question, political journalism, public policy roles in corporates. So policy roles in corporates are a little different than political journalism, Rajesh. So let's understand corporate policy roles. So suppose you are a policy manager, let's say in a agri-tech company or agriculture-based company. So your work is to identify which all policies influence my company's direction, predict what is possibly coming in, try to identify which are the levers of change inside the system I can work with, and then write for them. Ensure the policymakers know what your perspective is. As an industry member, as a member of an industry, how do you represent the interest of your industry to the policymakers. Now, that requires extensive writing, that requires extensive understanding of the system. And by system, I mean knowing, for example, should I reach out to the joint secretary or the secretary? Should I reach out to the additional secretary or the section officer? That knowledge is extremely important, Rajesh. This is called political systems, understanding which part of the system I need to intervene in. The next important point is some basic knowledge of law. Section 4, subsection 5, clause C, edit this to change it from A to B. This knowledge of policy writing is extremely important, Rajesh. Building the skill is possible in a political journalism role. Try to find out such opportunities will allow you to discover this. Hope I answered your question, Rajesh. Arpita has asked, as a fresher exploring opportunities in policy research and advocacy, how do I actually begin this journey? I have answered some of this earlier, Arpita. Hope I've answered you. Feel free to ask it again. Purnima has thanked us for a wonderful session. Thank you, Purnima. It feels nice to see that you found this session valuable. How much career gap matters in this field? And there is career gap. There is a certification course in policy and political consulting. So policy and political consulting are two different fields. If anybody is, there might be some certification courses that I'm not aware of, but if the same course commits you to both public policy and political consulting, I think it's a difficult place to do both. Political consulting requires very different skills and public policy requires very different skills. How to get career opportunity in India House? We have a lot of people who have career gaps in their life. In fact, I think I can easily recall 3 to 4 of my own team members who have career gaps. That has not been a barrier for them, Purnima. At India House, our hiring practices are very, very simply on passion. If you can demonstrate passion in your application, in your answers, in your interview, that you really wish to do this, and you are willing to go the extra mile to learn in this domain, that will suffice to get into an entry level role. From the entry level role to grow, actually you have to showcase commitment. While we are doing this, one of my team members actually spent the last night working on a policy document that is set to be submitted to the ministry tomorrow. And it's a weekend. And she's a fresher. And she's doing a good job. Overall, this domain is not based on core, is primarily driven by a lot of passion and on-the-go journey, on-the-go learning. If you can showcase that you are capable of learning on the go, that will be good enough, Purnima. Somebody has asked, Ankit has asked about corporates like Big Four working in social sector. So Big Four or MBB, EY, PwC, Deloitte, and there is one more. All 4 of them plus MBB, McKinsey, BN, BCG, all 7 of them. And there are approximately 20 to 30 of Indian consulting groups also in social sector, from Samhita to Samagra to all of these organizations. What they do is that they enable an NGO to do better work, or they enable a CSR to divide its funds better, or they enable a multilateral agency to define who should get their grant for. Their work is to guide people in the sector. And because of their experience across domains, because of their experience across organizations, they know what ideas might work. So they're just more exposed to ideas. And they're good in idea sharing. Implementation largely remains with these social sector organizations. Kavish has thanked us for this fruitful session. Thank you, Kavish. Glad that you liked it. If India House directly works with governments across India on particular projects, and if you could please shed light on internships available at India House. Devendra has already replied to you for internships and projects that are already available at India House. Yes, we do work with certain direct government projects. For example, we are working with Ministry of Health and Family Welfare on allied healthcare. We are working with government of Uttarakhand on implementing a disposal system around plastic waste, and these are research projects primarily, Kavish, for now. Eventually we wish to get into implementation as well. For now, we are doing a lot of work around research that governments can directly leverage into their policy formulation stage. Hope I answered your question, Kavish. Sai Tejas asks how to work with politicians. Does political consulting give direct opportunity to work with politicians? Yes and no, Sai Teja. Political consulting allows you to directly work with politicians for election management. And after that, you are on your own. You might develop a relation that the politician would want you to come and join his team, his or her team later. but it's for a short duration, yet it allows you to work with politicians. The second direct way of working with politicians, Saitija, is go and reach out to them. Go to your local MP and say that, sir, I want to work with you. I am this and this, educated in this and this, and I have a passion to work with you. I believe you are doing a good job and I want to work with you. Don't say them that I don't like your job and I want to work with you. Just praise them a bit and then ask for a role. Sometimes you will get success, sometimes you will also get failures. But the good thing is there are 550 MPs and 5,000 MLAs. You need not only work with one MP or one MLA. Once one door closes, open a new door for you. And that will allows you to work with politicians, I think. Jagan has shared his number. Anybody wishes to reach out to him. Uh, some of you have thanked us. And we are on the back of the time. The last few questions uh, have been asked on the group. Sheetal has asked, I have worked with an NGO for almost 3.5 years now and have worked on grassroots around youth development, gender, and leadership skills in youth. I transitioned to another NGO which specifically works for upskilling of rural young women. I want to understand from India House, how can I transition to roles where I can work more on decision making rules and not implementation rules? My understanding of working at grassroots has been amazing, satisfaction wise, but the growth most of the time is limited. What can somebody do who is looking for finance growth and growth in the career? So, Sheetal, it's important to realize that social sector or policy space will never be financially the most remunerative sector that you can go to. It's a better idea to go to a social enterprise, go to a very, very large NGO, or go to places where you need not worry about, where you will have to let go some bit of your interest and ensure your financial sustainability. The space does not pay well. And that's the challenge of the space. And it's a careful choice you need to make. The second part of your question is, how do I move to more decision making roles rather than implementation roles? So, one direct way to move from the grassroots to some decision making roles is to move to the managerial hierarchy. Each NGO also has a managerial hierarchy. Take roles in managerial hierarchy or move to HQ based roles. So, NGOs also have HQs, their head offices are in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. Try to move to roles in NGOs in those roles. Develop some skill in NGO sector which will help you. For example, project monitoring and evaluation. Or public policy, for example. Most NGOs also have public policy head now. Some of our alums have been funded by their NGOs to learn public policy with us. That may help. Hope I answered your question, Sheetal. Um, Richa has asked, if I directly reach out to DM's office, what are possible works that they can give? So they can give you research roles, Richa. They can give you feedback roles, compile this feedback for me. They can give you just plain coordination roles. Read out these 10 files and help me understand which places I need to look at. So they will give you a file. There's something called noting in a government office, in which you create notes for the bureaucrats to reach that file faster. They can provide you those roles. Sometimes bureaucrats do provide direct internships. Sometimes they will not be able to pay you, but will be able to provide you an internship and a certificate. That's good enough for you to get to the next level. Do a small 2 month internship. Make it unpaid if you need to. If the bureaucrat is willing to pay, check for it. And do they too take interns? Hope I answered your question, Richa. Arpita has thanked us, Sambhavi has thanked us, Saurav has thanked us. Uh, Bhavna said, what does India House offer us? India House offers you a lot of challenges, challenges which are 1 week long, 2 weeks long, 1 month long, to help you get into this mindset of being in policy. These are called start thinking in policy, start acting in policy, start writing in policy. India House offers a structured program for you to imagine yourself in this domain. And that is allowed at that is what you learn at Policy Pioneers. You also get to work with a bureaucrat and publish something that you have worked on. Number three, India House offers you conversations like this in which we answered your questions. Hopefully, you benefited something from this Q&A. Number four, India House also has openings that you may wish to apply. We are always looking for good talent. If you are a good talent, do feel free to apply. And that's all for now. There are questions which have already been answered. So the YouTube link will be shared on the group chat. I request my team to share the YouTube live link so that people can go back and revise some of the concepts that we discussed today, and the framework is widely available for them. Aditya's question is about public policy transition. This question has already been answered, Aditya, approximately 30 minutes ago in this conversation. So feel free to revise that from the YouTube link. Kavish has asked uh, placements. So the space is not built for placements. The space is built for a largely self-navigation, Kavish. So if you're looking for a lot of career certainty, this place might not be the best space for you, because the space is dynamic. You will have a career, that's for sure. Good people are needed in this domain, that's for sure. And there is possibility to learn. Uh, Corporate consulting internships as well as government internships require, both of them require you to find out your own career for yourself. The space is very small. So once you get into this domain, you will find hundreds of friends and family who are like you. I request my team to also drop in the link to our own community called Bharat Mandla, in which there are around 1,600 people who are in the public policy domain. And some of you might already come from that community or wish to join that community. Uh, that's all for today, guys. We are 11 minutes over time. Thank you all for joining in. I will just wait for my team to drop in the WhatsApp group link on the chat here, and we look forward to connecting with you again. I will wish to see some of you, the names that I have taken, the names that I have engaged with in the Policy Pioneers program or some of the policy challenges ahead. And this domain is exciting and waiting for some of us to join in. Look forward to working with you and contributing to nation building together in this domain. Thank you all. And thank you, Nachiketa ji, Vasu ji, Devendra ji, Pratibha ji, from the team to enable this conversation with hundreds of people. Thank you all.